Hello, thank you all for joining us today. So you're welcome to write in with your questions, and we're here to answer them live. And any questions that we don't get to, we'll answer privately by chat. And when you do chime in with a question, just let us know where you're coming from by commenting in the chat. So we'll start with our introductions down at the end.
Hi, my name is Justin. I'm a junior majoring in economics and political science, minoring in accounting, China studies, and international studies. And I'm Vice President of Academic Affairs for Student Government.
Hello, my name is Sam Sarma. I'm an Associate Professor and Graduate Program Director in the program in Writing and Rhetoric. I've been teaching in Stony Brook for 8 years, and I love working with students in small classes, teaching them writing, communication, presentation skills.
Hi, I'm Lydia. I am a senior studying anthropology and human evolutionary biology.
I'm Gabrielle Russo. I'm an assistant professor of anthropology. I've been at Stony Brook since 2014, and I'm also the graduate program director of the master's program in anthropology.
Hello everyone, my name is Shahir Khan. I'm a political science major with a minor in South Asian Studies and International Studies, and I also serve as the president of the undergraduate student government. Right, so I guess I'll start off by kind of sharing my experiences at Stony Brook. It was an interesting one. I came as a biomedical engineering major where I was able to experience kind of the hard sciences, whether including chemistry and biomedical engineering, but one class that I explicitly remember taking was the Writing 102 class at Stony Brook University. And it's actually funny, I took it with Dr. Shermer right over here. And it introduced me to a new sense of writing where it wasn't only just writing research papers, but we were also able to focus on personal narratives, which early on I realized was something, if I wanted to pursue medicine, I'd have to write a personal statement. So it was nice to see how, early on courses like writing was able to bridge together interests from the sciences and also the humanities and social sciences. So that was very important to me. And I think that's what also encouraged me to maybe step out of the predefined box I made for myself and take a leap into the College of Arts and Sciences and pursue a degree in political science and international studies. So I think this college is very near and dear to my heart because it allowed me to experience a lot more than what I thought I would at first. Yeah. Anybody else?
Other students? We want to hear more from students.
Yeah.
I think I can relate. I can't relate to switching majors. Luckily for me, I've only had to get more majors or anything. Because we're both in political science and international studies, Shahir and I have actually shared a number of classes together. And on the mentor side, I think it's, well, at least within our major, but generally what I've heard from other students as well, and the trend throughout the school is it's relatively easy to find mentors because practically the entire instruction faculty are all really always out there for students. And for us, because we're going into specifically government and whatnot, there are plenty of opportunities for both in local government, state government, and also in Washington, if you're willing to go that far, where many of the professors have connections that will go out of their way to put you in touch with people they know. And for me, I've gotten a lot of connections that way, and I've had the privilege of working for the county government for a year and a half. I don't work there anymore, but it was a great opportunity for me to learn and grow professionally and academically.
I'd like to quickly build on the question of mentorship, the issue of mentorship, because it's not only for students when the social sciences or political sciences and humanities, it's the mentorship that students receive within the College of Arts and Sciences when they take the foundational courses in language and writing and literature and history. They get a smaller classes, many more opportunities to interact with professors, to learn the foundational academic skills and foundational professional skills for their careers. And the mentorship component is extremely important because they get to learn about the expertise of the professor, they get to learn from the experience of the professor, they get to become intimate and close to their professor. So these professors can write strong, powerful recommendation letters down the road, even if the students pursue bioengineering and then don't change it. Many of our students don't, or medicine, or any other field that goes beyond the College of Arts and Sciences. So mentorship is extremely important, and that happens a lot within our college. If you are, for prospective students, for new students, it's very important for you to think about not only your major, but also think about where you can build this closer relationship, especially in smaller classes, especially the required courses that you may hesitate at first, but then you'll see that there's a lot of unique affordances, a lot of unique opportunities in these courses that were designed. There's a reason why it was required, in other words.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And another place that students really get a chance for that interaction are through the first year seminars. I've taught a first year seminar twice.
Have too.
And I've always really enjoyed it because it's an opportunity to meet a lot of students outside of our majors. And I think it's a chance for many students to interact with faculty from across the college, across the university, and it gives them a chance in a small classroom setting to really do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's another place where those kinds of seminars are good opportunities for students to reach out, meet new faculty, meet other students from other departments they might not meet otherwise.
I think just building off of first year seminars, I know that especially for the incoming freshmen, that's what the first year seminars almost give you the first taste of leadership and expansion of your horizon, because for the first year seminars, students can actually serve as TAs for the instructors. It's called the Fellows Program. So if students are interested in that too, you can kind of maybe gain interest in kind of what your instructor does and build that relationship early on. So that's definitely something you can look into if and when you come to Stony Brook.
I actually thought you had a transformative experience. I could see from your observing you in the first semester to the second to the third, there's this astronomical rapid change of a student from a student who was hesitant at first semester, right? Mm-hmm. And having to TA with the professor means that you have to lead conversations, teach other students, and that was a phenomenal, very rapid, dramatic growth that I could see. I am not exaggerating when I say that Sahir grew from being 18-year-old in 2017 to being 22 in 2018 to 25 in 2019. How old are you now, 30? Kidding.
Something that's been mentioned a few times by you guys is the small classroom sizes, which I think is something that I really enjoy. I'm, as I said, a major in anthropology and human evolutionary biology, which are both like relatively small majors, but I really like knowing that, oh, like I'm taking this core class, like taking like biological anthropology with Dr. Russo, like that's a relatively big class, but then there's so many other opportunities within the majors to have like tiny classes. Like I've been in a class with 5 people, and it was one of the best classes I've ever taken because it was just discussion based and we could bounce ideas off of each other, and it was a really, really great experience. And I love that about these 2 departments because they're so small and you just know so many people and you know all the professors, and there's always people to bounce ideas off of, and you can get really close to professors and get really good letters of recommendation from people, and it's just a very close-knit society, which I enjoy.
Yeah, I think the overall experience for students is generally that in their first year, they'll probably get 1 or 2 really big classes, whether that be in our Javits lecture hall. Sometimes the classes can be as large as 500, but generally in your major it'll be the intro course, and you'll have 1 course like that. By the time you hit your sophomore year, generally classes boil down to at max 30-person seminars. But for me, in political science and also in international studies, I've been mainly 15 to 20-person seminars. So it's really gotten, and that really boosts how easy it is to connect with your mentor, or find a mentor rather. Because when you're working in a class that only has 15 people in it, you're practically always in a discussion-based class, and you always have the opportunity to talk and really connect with the professor and learn more about the professor, not only just from class material, but you get a lot of insider information. Like one of the professors Shihir and I have had together is Professor Harsh Bhasin, who's in political science. He is well, he's retired from the Foreign Service now, but he was Indian diplomat to a number of countries, and he had 38 years experience as a Foreign Service officer for India. And a large part of the reason why he's my mentor is not only, well, I did happen to go on a summer abroad trip with him, but also the classes I've taken with him have been small, and I've been able to connect with him that way, go to his office hours, get in touch, figure out really what his path was for getting to where he is today. And I think that gives a good perspective for students to, especially if you reach out to many professors, to figure out how they got to where they are today and the different ways that you can succeed in and out of school.
One thing that I'd add to the theme, the topo of small classes and student-teacher contact and mentorship and getting to know and having time for discussion, having time for doing things together, is that it is not enough for the class to be small, the professor to be caring. I think students need to reach out to the professor, go to their office hours, make appointments, work with other students in class, and take advantage of the small class being small class. Otherwise, it needs to be driven by students taking up on to the professor's offer to help them one-on-one. For example, in my writing courses, if there are 3 papers, all of the 3 papers go through 2 to 3 rounds of revision and feedback. And these revisions and feedbacks are not only on, commenting on their papers, their Google Doc, whatnot. It's also having this deep intellectual conversations as a follow-up of the feedback that we have. So during these office hours, it's not just a requirement that you go to fulfill a requirement. It's actually the deepest, most memorable conversations that we have. I'm sure you guys can relate to those kinds of conversations with your professors, which go beyond your assignments and requirements.
Yeah, I think I learned in my Writing 102 course. I think I learned just about as much in writing as I did in nuclear energy and renewable resources, because I wrote a paper about nuclear energy, and in my review session with the professor, where we went over the paper and looked over the revisions he made, the professor was actually very into beach cleanups and renewable energy, and we got to talk for a couple of hours over that. We went a little bit over our time for how much we were supposed to spend talking about it, but we both enjoyed our time talking about that, and I learned a whole lot just from that project.
Quick tip: if you want the hour-long conversation, pick the last appointment of the day. If you're not running away from the office, you might be able to do that.
I just want to add that in addition to increased sort of student-instructor interaction and student-to-student interaction, these kinds of opportunities also lend themselves to more substantial student content interaction. I mean, Stony Brook's world-class research institution, and there are a lot of active research labs on campus, mine included, in which Lydia works. And when you have classes this size at a leading research institution, you have students able to really get hands-on with material that they might not have a chance to get hands-on at other places. For example, I teach an two upper level classes, human osteology and primate anatomy. And in both those classes, students are interacting with bones and materials and doing lab assignments and examining the bones and comparing. So there's a level of interaction not just with the instructor and other students, but also the content that I think is not possible with larger classes or or institutions that don't have the kinds of resources that Stony Brook has to offer.
Yeah. The university is always untapped, gold mine of resources and expertise and connections and community, and I think it's very important that students know that also.
Question for Lydia: what is your experience like doing research as a student? I feel like for a lot of us it might be almost especially when you're in the College of Arts and Sciences, sometimes you feel like, okay, you have to be an engineering major or have to study medicine to be able to do research. But in actuality, we all have so much opportunities to do independent research or directed research. So I wanted to kind of hear from you, and maybe you can sway me to maybe.
Yeah. So I guess the way that I started doing research, so when I first came here, I wanted to do cultural anthropology, and then I took intro to biological anthropology with Dr. Russo, and I was like, this is so much cooler. And then I took the human osteology class for the next semester, and I just like completely fell in love with the idea of researching human origins and primate evolution and like all of this cool stuff. So I started talking to Dr. Russo a lot and developed a connection, and we were talking and she mentioned, oh, like I'm looking for undergraduates in the lab, like you should apply. Because her lab, it's the functional morphology lab, and it's basically like functional morphology is looking at the shape of bones and how they can predict like locomotion and certain things, and like that's what I wanted to do. So I applied to the lab and started working, and it just like it opened up so many different doors for me, I could say. Like I got to work on a bunch of different research projects, like with different grad students or with Dr. Russo. I got to come up with some of my own ideas, and now I'm working on a senior honors thesis on that. And like I think that research can be intimidating, especially like in the College of Arts and Sciences. Like, how do you do research in like a liberal arts degree? Like, but I think like the really important thing is realizing what you're into and trying to find a member of faculty or a graduate student who's also into that and asking them for opportunities, because they definitely know what's going on in the field, and there's definitely opportunities there. Yeah.
That's great insight, thank you.
And given Stony Brook's location too, students are able to take advantage of resources on Long Island and in the city. So part of Lydia's research, she was going to the AMNH, the Museum of Natural History in the city, once a week and collecting her own original data. And then she, all brag for you, just received a Juliana Global Fellowship that she used to go to the National Museums of Kenya and collect data on fossil primates there in Nairobi for a week. So, it's having access also to institutions around Long Island and the greater New York City area is really important too.
One related issue to the internship or visit to the research visit to Nairobi, to India, to Kenya, is also that the campus itself is very rich in terms of its students and faculty and researchers and research connections. Our lab, our campus in South Korea, our connections to Turkana Basin Institute, right? That Stony Brook is a global campus. It's not only a research university, it's also a global campus. The world meets here. And so one of the things that I encourage students to do is to get out of your limited networks of relationship or spaces or interests and expand that, challenge yourself. Meet with a person who barely speaks English the first few weeks. You'll realize that in 10 weeks they'll be speaking as well as you do. I'm really fascinated. One of the research subjects that I research is international students and how they transition and how they adapt and how they learn to succeed. It's fascinating. And therefore, I challenge the international students to interact with the domestic students. I challenge the domestic students to interact with the international students because they bring a storehouse of knowledge along with them. And so I urge you to explore these opportunities of global connections, research, talking to people, students, and scholars from around the world. It's what you explore. So in order to explore, the world is here.
Yeah. And when it's not here, students can take advantage of study abroad programs, which that was perfect segue. Thank you. The study abroad programs, which I have to say, so when I was an undergrad, I went to a small liberal arts college where study abroad programs were a huge part of the curriculum, and nearly everyone went abroad. But I'm so impressed, given the size of Stony Brook, the number of students that take the advantage of that opportunity. There are a lot of places students can go. Our department's affiliated with the Turkana Basin Institute for the TBI Field Origin School, where students can go to Kenya and go to archaeological and paleontological sites and learn from leading archaeologists and paleoanthropologists in the field. And those are important opportunities to see the rest of the world as well.
I can speak to that as somebody who's been to that field school. I participated in a semester-long field school with the Turkana Basin Institute, and again, it just opened so many different doors. Like during that field school, I was contacted by an archaeology professor at Stony Brook, Dr. Elizabeth Hildebrand, asking if I was interested in doing research with her in the following summer, like going back to Kenya and working on an archaeological site, and also being a TA for the summer field school. So like that blossomed into that opportunity. And then going to the field with Dr. Hildebrand blossomed into another field opportunity with Dr. Russo the next summer. So like it just keeps building on, like as soon as you get like that foundational experience, it'll just keep building into more experiences and just get like cooler and cooler and like just better.
One of the issues that we have touched upon that I would like to